Hello everyone, I'm Farmer Sim, and these are a small selection, 15 in total, of my favourite go-to tractors that I tend to gravitate to when choosing tractors for new save games. Map, country and playstyle dependent of course, these are the ones I will tend to choose over others, purely because I like the way they look, the way they behave, drive, or just because they may have one or two features that others don't. There's a few from each section of tractors, small, medium and large, so let's start with the small ones and work our way up to the big ones. Okay, first on the list is the International 06 series by JCL's Farm Equipment. Now I've placed down 3 of the variants that you can purchase. There's a multitude of them essentially, but there is essentially 3 main variants of these vehicles that you can get from this pack. So you have the International 706 series here, which we have on the left. We have the International 806 here in the middle, and we have the International 1206 here on the right. Now across all 3 vehicles that you get in the pack, there are 21 wheel options. Now what I've done here is essentially that there's 21 wheel options, but there's 7 variants of the rear wheel options, essentially grouped into 3. You can have the same 7 rear wheel options with these very narrow front wheels. Again, the same 7 rear wheel variants with these smaller but wider front wheel variants, and the same again for the bigger front wheel variant. So that's essentially how that works. The 706 series here comes with 5 engine options, or 6 engine options. The one in the middle here comes with 3 engine options, and the 1206 over here just comes with 1. So let's jump very quickly into the shop and have a quick look at them. So over here in the small tractors, there we go, the 706, the 806 and the 1206. Now the one I tend to gravitate to more often than not is the 706, because you can equip this. If you have a look at the power capacity of it, you can spec it from 89 horsepower all the way up to 280, which is obviously the one that I tend to go for, and I'll show you that one now. So if we go into the spec, as you can see, this one comes with the 6 engine options. So you can have the C263 at 89 horsepower. You can have the C263 LP that comes with this kind of extra cowling on top of the engine block there. Forgive me, I can't exactly say what LP stands for or what that exactly means, but there's just a bit more visual stuff in front of you there as you're driving along. You can have the C291, which is 93 horsepower, C291 LP again with that extra cowling, and then the D282 at 96 horsepower, which is a diesel variant. And then you can go right the way up to the Whopper, which is the Cummins Repower. Now, I love this one because it's essentially a Cummins swap. Cummins diesel engines are obviously extremely powerful, extremely strong, and that's why I always tend to gravitate for just to this one, because it just makes it that all the more capable. But they've all got that lovely old school look about them, and it's a beautiful mod pack, it really is. So again, looking very quickly at the wheel selections. Now, like I said, you've got 7 varieties of rear wheel option for each of the 3 different variants of front wheel, so I'll quickly flip through them here. So as you can see, we've got the singles, we have singles with weights, singles with 2 weights, singles load that biatch weights, forgive me the language there, but that's what it's called, singles load that biatch weights, singles with hubs, we have duals and the plough duals, and then we go to the second option here, the singles 2, that comes with the very narrow setup of front wheels, and again flicking through the same one, singles with weights, singles with more weights, singles with those weights, singles with hubs, duals and plough duals, and then we go to the third one, which gives the bigger front wheel option, again flicking through all the same options there. But like I say, I always tend to gravitate to this one just because I really like the way it looks. Stations, we have 7 station options which are available on all 3 of the tractors. You have the open station with clamshell fenders there, as you can see, just either side of the seat. You have flat top fenders. Now this one's excellent because one of the spec here, the radio, it comes with this really nice, really old looking radio, but you can only spec the tractors with that radio with the flat top fenders. So as soon as you spec it with the clamshell, the radio disappears. We'll keep that there just to look good. So there's the flat top fenders. We have the rollover protection system. We have the rollover protection system with the canopy. We have the International Windbreaker spec, which looks pretty cool. And then again, my favourite, the Hineker cab. It's just an awesome looking thing, it really is. And the Hineker cab as well doesn't, even if you have the radio spec, the Hineker cab doesn't come with the radio, just because the cab's in the way. And again, front fenders, there's only one option for front fender, which is the Hineker spec, which strangely enough you can't actually spec with the Hineker cab when you've got these big wheels. But if I go back to the small wheels there we go, you can still have the Hineker cab, and there's the Hineker fenders on those smaller wheels there, and obviously you can only have those fenders with this particular wheel setup. But again, that's that. So the exhaust, now obviously the Cummins repower option comes with its own exhaust, and to adapt to that, there is an option in here to remove the standard exhaust off the engine there, so you could just have the one big exhaust. But if you had the different engine variants, then let's go to the C263 here. And there we go, you've got the different exhausts there, the muffler exhaust, curved exhaust 2, which is obviously for the Cummins, straight exhaust, and back to the muffler exhaust. Attachers, you can have a weight bracket, we can have 5 weights attached, we can have 13 weights attached, we can have 13 weights with a plough guide, which I really quite like, and then we go to the front mount brackets. You can have a Hauer, you can have a Lizard one, which comes as 2 black bits at the bottom there, you can have a secondary Lizard one, which doesn't seem to look like it comes with anything there actually. Oh no, there we go. It does come with a bracket, I think. I'm not too sure about that one. We've got the International 68 there, which comes with 2 brackets at the front there, just behind the arches, or you can spec it back to nothing again. And the main colour, this one here, is for the exhaust. So you've got the black, and then you've got the chrome there, so you can spec the exhaust with a chrome exhaust if you so wish. And again, very similar, all those specs are the same as well for the 806 and the 1206 variants. The 806 here comes with only 3 options. You've got the 98 horsepower C301, which is a LP gas-powered engine. You've got the C301 LP, again, that comes with the extra cowling on top of the engine there. Or you've got the D361 again, which is a diesel at a 110 horsepower, and pretty much the same spec for us we've just been through there for that vehicle. And again to the 1206, which just comes with 1 engine variant, the 120 horsepower. Now this one I believe is, this is a diesel, I think. Again, you can just spec it, you've just got the same spec options as the previous 2 vehicles, with the wheels, the station, the radio, fenders, exhaust and attachers, and you can change the colour of the exhaust. And that is essentially it, but it is a beautiful mod pack, it really is. These 3 tractors, this one in particular, like I said, this is the one I tend to gravitate to, just because it's just so much more capable. It's got such a beautiful look to it. They all do, to be fair, let's be honest. Yeah, the 1206 is a diesel. You can tell whether it's diesel because it's got this lovely little badge here, 1206 diesel. You've got the 806 as LP gas, and again, obviously this one being the Cummins 706 diesel. But yeah, brilliant little pack, really authentic, wonderful for old American rural farm setups, if that's the way you like to play, or if that's the one you're trying to set up. But yeah, a beautiful little mod pack of some wonderful little tractors. So the International 06 series by JCL's Farm Equipment. Next on the list is the Massey Ferguson 390T by Matt XJS and NKIG. Now, there's not a huge amount of options that come with this one, but it is just a beautiful little tractor, obviously perfect for small UK and European farms, not necessarily suited to over here in the United States, but either way, it's a beautiful little thing. Yeah, there's no engine options, it's 92 horsepower and it does 20 miles an hour, that's essentially it. But it does come with a few little bits and bobs that you can alter. You've got a handful of wheel options, of course. You can spec it with or without a front weight bracket, and you can spec it with or without front loader brackets. So as you can see, I've fitted one of the base game Q3Ms to this one just to show you that. You can spec it with wide tyres, you can spec it with narrow tyres, you can spec it with extra narrow tyres on the back. I'll jump very quickly into the shop to show you it. Obviously it's in small tractors. Scroll right the way along to the end here, and there we are. You do have a few tyre brands that you can choose. You've got your Trelleborgs, you've got your Michelins, you've got your Continentals, you've got your Mitas, and you've got your Vredesteins, and you've got your Nokians, and back to Trelleborgs. Now some of them you can't spec extras with. The Trelleborgs you can give wide tyres, narrow tyres, the rear narrows, and back to standard. There's nothing you can do with the Michelins. You can do a couple with the Continentals, wide and narrow back to standard. Mitas, obviously, just the wide tyres, and Vredesteins, wide tyres, narrow tyres, back to standard. And then you've got your Nokians as well there, of course, which I'm sure we're all familiar with. You spec it with the front weight bracket, the front loader attacher, yes or no. You can spec it with the Isaria Pro Compact, of course, for a bit of precision farming work, and you can give it a license plate. But that's pretty much it for that one, but it is a vehicle that I will always tend to use, especially on UK and European maps. It's a beautiful little thing, it really is. Jumping very quickly into the cab, and just have a quick look, start it up. It's relatively basic in here. It's a very nicely done mod though, I must admit. There's no extra fancy bits or anything like that, it is just what it is. But it's a lovely little tractor. Nice and old. I do like an old tractor, to be fair. It's not obviously too old, but it's, yeah, it's a beautiful little thing. I suppose there's not much more to say to that, apart from the fact that I use it quite a lot. I'm sure some of you may recognise it. I think this may have been the one that Scroft used back on an episode of The Farmhand a long time ago, where they discovered it behind the back of one of George's sheds over on Court Farms. It's a lovely looking thing, it really is. So, quite simply, that's that one. The Massey Ferguson 390T by Matt XJS and NKIG. Next up, it's the Ford Series 10 Force 3 Pack by John Deere 2450 and Matt XJS. So, this pack consists mainly of two tractors, obviously that you can spec in various different guises, but what it comes with is in the 4-cylinder range, which is based solely around this slightly smaller framed variant. This is the 5110 through to the 7610, and the 7810 here that you can spec as this, and the Silver Jubilee spec as well, which is this one. Now again, forgive me for bringing him up again, but some of you may recognise this as George's tractor from Scroff's Farmhand series. Yep, George's pride and joy. It's a beautiful thing, it really is. Now technically this pack is also available to console users as well, but it's not branded as Ford, it's branded as Lizard. It is available on the mod hub as the Lizard branded pack. Also, this pack is available on the mod hub as well. Obviously all links to the vehicles that I'll be showcasing in this video are in the video description below. But as I say, this one in particular is available to console users, but just branded as Lizard. So, what have we got then? So we've got the 4-cylinder range, as I say, which is based around this frame, and these two, sorry, are 6 cylinders. So we'll start with the smaller one, the 5110. This is available in 5 different engine variants. We've got the 5110 in front of us here at 68 horsepower, the 5610 at 76 horsepower, the 6410 at 84 horsepower, the 6810 at 94 horsepower, and the 7610 at 105. Let's jump into the shop very quickly and have a quick look-see. So here we are. It's these two here, the 51 to 7610 and the 7810. So looking at this one, there's the engine specs: 5110, 56, 64, 6810, and finally the 7610 at 105 horsepower. There's many different tyre and wheel variants. We've got the brands, obviously we've got Trelleborg, Michelin, Continentals and Mitas and BKTs and Vredesteins, and back again to Trelleborg. Now you can spec with the standard 51 to 56s, slightly wider 64 to 68s, standard 76s, wide tyres at 64 to 68, the 76s as wide tyres, flotation tyres 64 to 68. I must admit I'm quite partial to these ones, they look nice and chunky. Do like a nice chunky tyre. And again, slightly bigger again, flotation tyres at 76. You've got some rear twin wheels, slightly wider rear twin wheels, again slightly wider, and the narrows at factory size, slightly wider narrows, and again slightly wider again narrows, and back to the standards. So we can spec it with a set of front mud guards, yes or no. Beacon wise, obviously I'm sure we're all familiar with these variants. You've got a left beacon, you've got a right beacon, or you can have them both. And again, a second variant where it's mounted slightly lower on the roof line there, again on the right, and again both, and all back to none at all. Exhaust wise, you can have an original exhaust, you can have the original exhaust without a muffler, you can have a stainless exhaust without a muffler, and back to the original. You can have extra work lights mounted on the front there. If you just look at the front of the cab, slightly lower than the roof line, without and with. You can have them on the back, lower down there on the back of the wheel arches, or you can have them both. Always good for a bit of nighttime work. You can configure it with a colourable front guard, with the standard colour front guard, or none at all. You can give it air conditioning, as you see there. Looking at the side of the engine block there, it comes with an air conditioning system, which is pretty cool for a bit of detail. and you can spec it with a handful of weight varieties. You can have an 80 kilogram, 200 kilogram, second variant of the 200 kilogram, 280, 360, 440, 520, or 600 at the maximum there. You can also equip this with a front loader. You've got the Quickie, you've got the Hauer, and you've also got the option for the MP Lift variant. You've got the Stoll, or back to none at all. Now, both of these tractors they are precision farming ready, so you can equip them with the Isaria Pro compact bits of kit attached to the wing mirrors there and onto the roof. And you can colour configure the front loader brackets if you have equipped it with the front loader stuff there. So, and obviously you can also equip it with a license plate. So that's the 76, the 51 to the 7610, and then you've got the 7810 here as well. Obviously you can configure that with the Silver Jubilee spec or with the original blue. And again, you've got this is the 6-cylinder range. You've got the base 7810, you've got a 7810 turbo conversion, you can see, with a lovely 80s style kind of Ford fonted turbo badge there. Or it also comes with a TW25 engine conversion, taking the power right the way up to 152 horsepower. So that's pretty cool. I must admit, I always either tend to go for the TW25 or the turbo conversion, just because power. Now again, you've got a handful of varieties of tyre options. This one's slightly different to the smaller 4-cylinder variant. Obviously you can equip it with some wide tyres, flotations in the rear and the front twins, and all the different brands in between that we had before as well. Same again, beacons, same spec as before, the exhaust the same spec as before, extra work lights, mud guards, front guards, etc., the air conditioning, and the varying different weights in the front attachers. You can also equip this one with the front loader, the varying different brands, the Isaria Pro Compact, and obviously you can colour configure the front loader brackets and give it a license plate as well. But yeah, just another beautiful little mod pack. Now, one of the things I mentioned at the very beginning, that some tractors just have one or two particular features that make me head towards those before others. Now, one of these is for the 6-cylinder range in particular, and it's a really small little bit of detail, but I love it. When you start it up, there you go. You just get that little belt squeak. That's all it is, and I love it. It's obviously it's got its own unique engine sound anyway, but it's just that belt squeak that again, it's a little bit of attention to detail that I absolutely adore about these things. They're wonderful little tractors, very capable, and just very authentic. Now, the 4-cylinder tractor range doesn't have that belt squeak. It just has a relatively standard engine sound, but obviously the belts are in better health in this variant, I suppose, aren't they? But yeah, that's kind of it for that pack. A lovely little thing, I must admit. So there we go, the Ford Series 10 Force 3 pack by John Deere 2450 and Matt XJS. And finally, from the small tractor section, this is the Fordson Pack by Model, Pattern M4 and others. And quite frankly, this is an absolute beauty of a selection of tractors, it really is. Obviously, as you can see, if your playstyle was to start off really small, really rural, with very little money, these are, quite frankly, one of the best packs you could choose. So, starting from left to right, first to last, we have the Fordson F in a worn state. As you can see, it just looks wonderful and rusty and completely worn. You could very likely find this hidden under a tree in a bush behind a derelict barn. It looks perfect for that. And then we have the same thing, the Fordson F, but completely restored with a particularly bright set of wheels, but nonetheless a beautiful little thing. This next up is the Fordson N, and then we have the Fordson Narrow, quite clearly, as it has the narrow setup on the front tyres. We have the Fordson E27N. Next up we have the Fordson Major, which is, of all this lineup, is probably the one that has the most customization options in it. And next up we have the Hoyt Clagwell, and then next, last but not least, we have the, I hope I'm going to pronounce this correctly, the Putilovich, I think, possibly. Again, looks very similar to the Fordson F1 at the start of the lineup, but maybe just slightly different branded, but nonetheless, a beautiful lineup of really old tractors, I'm sure you'll agree. Lovely stuff. So, now, a little bit of details about these things. They, power-wise, they range from 20 horsepower all the way up to a very heady 54. That 54 horsepower is achievable using the Fordson Major. and they range from 11, they're capable of doing 11 to 19 kilometers an hour. Price wise, they're also extremely cheap, as you can imagine. The smallest, the cheapest price is €50, dollars, in-game credits, whatever, pounds, and the most expensive is 3,417, which is the highest spec of the Fordson Major here. So let's have a quick jump into the shop. Obviously back to small tractors. I'll have a quick look-see. So here we are, the Fordson F1. Now, a few of them have got a couple of customization options, but generally, as a rule, there's not too many. So engine setup, you can have this one equipped with in standard form, or you can have it with road gear. Now, I'm not actually too sure the difference that makes. Maybe I think road gear, maybe it just gives it a maybe slightly longer, a longer final drive, perhaps. I'm not too sure. No extra cost, of course. You can equip it with the standard wheels, obviously, just bare metal. You can have a rubber band around them. You can have some proper pneumatic tyres, or back to standard. And design-wise, you've got the option for a 3-point hitch, nice and old school, with some fenders. You can equip it with the fenders and the 3-point hitch. You can equip it, as you can see there, it's appeared on the front, the Hoyt lighting system. The Hoyt lighting system attached to the fenders, or with the 3-point. I think that's a bit of everything. You've got the Hoyt lighting system on the fenders with the 3-point, or back to standard. And it's relatively the same for a few of these now. Again, there you go, road gear, rubber bands, pneumatic tyres, back to standard, and the same spec there, the fenders with the wings, 3 points. Now this, and then the Hoyt lighting system. There we go, just flicking quickly through them because they're all pretty much the same. The Fordson N again, this doesn't have quite as many customization options. You can change the colour of the wheels from green to orange. You can change the colour of the machine itself from orange to green. Blue with the Hoyt lighting system, orange with the Hoyt lighting system, green, and back to blue. Like I say, it's pretty much the same for them all. This one, you can only just do the road gear, the E27N. You can add some weights. Where do they appear? Oh, they're on the wheels, of course, and that's pretty much it. The Fordson Major here, this, as you can see from the price, this is the most expensive one. You can give it a 38 horsepower engine, a 52 horsepower engine with the Power Major spec, or 54 with the Super Major. Back to standard, you can equip it depending on where you are in the world and what map you're using. You can have a European standard with some wheel weights, American standard with the wheel weights, and then change the colour of the wheels to white. Same spec, there we go. With or without fenders, you can have this one with a cab, which looks pretty cool. You can have it with white fenders, back to standard again. And then we're on to the Hoyt Clagwell, which is a massively expensive $5, as you can see. You can equip that with the rubber bands, with or without, and a 3-point with some fenders with a 3-point, Hoyt lighting system, etc, etc. And again, with the Putilovich, there's no spec at all there. It is what it is when you buy it. But either way, this one and the one at the beginning, the Fordson F1, just a gorgeous machine. It really is. Very, very nice indeed. So yeah, there we go. Again, just a quick showcase of these 8 vehicles in total and the various specs you can have them in. Like I said before, a beautiful set of machinery if you're looking to start off very small and very rural and very poor, as it were, maybe. Obviously with some, obviously very limited to the equipment and implements that you can drag behind these things, but if that's how you'd like to start, these are perfect for you. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, the Fordson Pack by Model, Pattern 4, and some others. Right, next up, and first from the medium tractor category, is this quite frankly beautiful Fiat Agri 160 180/90 from Edomod and CR82. This is an absolute work of art, if you ask me. Now, there is a variant of this downloadable from the Giants Mod Hub, but there is also a variant that you can download from Edomod's official website. The link will be in the video description below, and you can also purchase for a couple of euros this quite frankly gorgeous HD texture pack, which gives it a few more additional customization options in the shop. As you can see, I've spec'd it out to my favourite spec here, visually anyway. This is a brand new tractor, completely clean as far as the dirt mask is concerned, but it comes with this lovely, like, destroyed, weathered look on the wheels and on the body and on the chassis of the tractor. It's really, really quite special, and whatever options you customise it with, that worn effect is there. For example, the weight bracket, the hydraulic brackets on the front here, they come with that worn look as well. So it's really quite a special one, this. So let's jump into the shop very quickly and have a bit of a look-see at it. So there you go. As you can see, minimum price $33,500. So you can spec it with the base engine at 160 horsepower. You can equip it with the 180/90, which is 180 horsepower. Those are your two engine options. Obviously, you've got the usual tyre brands: Trelleborg, Michelin, Continental, Mitas, Vredestein and Nokian, and varying different setups in between. You can equip it with the front and rear narrow wheels. Now this is part of the extra HD texture pack which I purchased. It comes with you can essentially colour the standard size wheels. So this is Curcione Gyro, Curcione Camo SWAT, which is a nice black with an orange lip, the Camo Terrasa, again black wheels with a red lip. We've got the Curcione Neri with the white wheels, Moroni, which I think all that does is alter the central hub there. As you can see, it's you've got a black hub and you've got like a browny maroony colour there, and then you've got my favourite again there, the Curcione Destroyed look. And back to standard, you can equip it going to the rear with some mechanical back arms, and you can equip it with all the hydraulic back arms. Those are your two options there for your rear hitch. And back to the front, exhaust configuration. Now this is there's one special thing that you can do with one of the particular options of these exhausts, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. I do hope I'm factually correct with that, but what it is, you can equip it with a low air filter, a high air filter, a second variant on a high air filter, and then the chrome exhaust with a low air filter, and a chrome exhaust with a high air filter, and back to the low air filter. If you equip it as I have done with the vehicle we have on the forecourt here with the chrome exhaust, this is the one variant I think that you get one extra little really nice touch with this mod, which I'll show you in a minute. You can configure it with no fenders or a set of front fenders, a left beacon, a right beacon, no beacons or both. And again, sticking with the front, the colouring of the front grille there, you can have it in white, you can have the whole thing in black, or you can have the front as white and keeping the side vents there as black, and back to normal again there. Nice bit of customization. Now here we have the general body configuration. You can have it in the standard colours that I'm sure we're all familiar with. You can have it with this quite wild and leery black and kind of neon pink colour, Gyro d'Italia. You can have you can equip, the rest of the body there looks relatively clean, but the bottom there, you can see the chassis of the vehicle there is like a black with a low dirt mask. You can equip the whole thing with a medium dirt mask. The new Holland 8430 colours there with a blue body and black cab. And again, one of my favourites, there's two variants here. You've got the terracotta brown destroyed and the terracotta black destroyed. Quite a subtle difference in between the two, but there's a difference nonetheless. And then you can equip it in the Fiat Agri Eastern European colours, orange front with the white cab. And another pretty cool wild one, the Camo Terrasa, Camo SWAT, grey with a bit of camo over it. That's a pretty cool looking thing. And then you've got the brown medium dirt, brown low dirt, and back to the standard again there. You can equip it with a weight holder that comes as standard. You can give it the front hydraulics, which I've done on the example on the forecourt. Front weight with a central rod there, and front weight without the rod. And back to the weight holder. You can configure the door animations to be controlled via interactive control or just with a mouse. And you can obviously give it your license plate as well. But as I mentioned about the one thing that's the extra thing, the kind of bit of detail you get when you equip it with the chrome exhaust, is the engine sounds. Now the engine sounds a really nice sound to it anyway, but when you give it some beans and you get to a certain speed, I'll come out the cab so you can hear it properly, but you let off and you get that lovely wastegate whistle there from the turbo system. It's really cool when you're changing gear. It's really quite cool. And as far as I'm aware, you only get that with the chrome exhaust option. I have tried it with the standard exhaust. But yeah, it's a really, really cool little touch, that. Very nice. So there you go. Let's jump out of that one. And quite simply, a relatively quick showcase of that mod, but a beautiful one nonetheless. The Fiat Agri 160 180/90 from Edo Mod and CR82. Right, trying to be even remotely conscious about how long this video could end up being, I've decided to put the last of the medium tractors into one kind of row, and I'm going to do the same with the large tractors as well, kind of go through them one by one, just an vain attempt to try and make sure that this video isn't too ridiculously long. So, starting off with what we've got here, we have in front of us the John Deere 8010 series by Skywalker Farms. This tractor is available in essentially two variants. We have the two-wheel drive version here and the four-wheel drive version here. They essentially come with the same customization options between the two of them. Sorry, each one individually has a total of 12 engine specs, and there are a few visual enhancements, customization options that you can make for each one. So we'll jump into the shop and I'll show you each individual one. There we go. So scrolling along to these two vehicles, there we go. So we've got the two-wheel drive and we have the four-wheel drive. Two-wheel drive has a maximum power availability of 235 horsepower, and you can go right the way up to 270 with the four-wheel drive. So we'll jump into the four-wheel drive just to see. This is the one that has essentially 12 engine specs. You can spec it from the 8100 from 95 to 96, right the way up to the 8410 from 99 to 2002, taking you from the base 179 horsepower there up to 270. And you've got a few increments in between. Essentially, most of them jump up by about 5 horsepower. So you've got 182 there, 187, 202, all the way up to 270. There's quite a few tyre options here. You've got the Firestone brand here, and if you click to the right, you've got Firestone LC, which gives you a slightly wider track at the front. You've got the Michelins and the Michelin LCs. You've got the Michelin Wides, the Continentals, LCs again with the wider track, Continental Wides. You've got the Nokians, and back to the Firestones. Now, in each individual one of those has quite a few varieties. You've got 60-inch singles with weights, without weights, of course, at the beginning. 60-inch plough duals, 60-inch plough duals with weights. Rear duals with weights. Dual front spacers with weights. There's quite a few of them. 60-inch duals with weights, etc. 72-inch singles. There's quite a lot of them, isn't there, as you can see. Just flicking through them quickly, so I'm sure we've all seen all these variety of wheel options on tractors before. You can spec it with a set of fenders on the rear and on the front and on both. And back to none, there's a couple of GPS systems you can spec it with. So you've got none, you've got the Starfire Prep, which as you can see there adds a little terminal and holster to the A-pillar there on the right hand side of the steering wheel. Got the Green Star Brown box, which adds the GPS terminal on the front of the roof there, and again it adds a little, like it says, a brown box onto the A-pillar there. You've got the Green Star 3, which turns that brown box into a bit of a touchscreen terminal, and you've got the Trimble EZ Guide 250, which adds an entirely different setup there in cab and on the roof as well. And back to none again. Interior details, you can give it a CB radio, which you can see in the top of the roof there, hopefully. Top right hand corner of the cab. You can give it a passenger seat, or you can give it both. Go back to none again. Exterior details, zoom out a bit there. You can have a set of mirrors which work with the interactive control function. You can have a fifth SCV, which gives you a kind of an extra, if you look at the pneumatic controls there at the back, it gives you an extra one of those essentially. Or you can have both. Or back to none again, and you can equip it with an old style flasher, which again is you can utilize the interactive control with that, a new style or an old style or none. You can give it a left beacon, a right beacon, or both, or what I quite like is actually the big central square one in the middle, or back to none again. And you can equip it at the front with a few options. You've got your rock box, you've got your weight bracket, an old 900-pound weight all the way up to 2100 pounds, or a new 900 pound weight, 1500, 2100, or back to none again. Now the trailer hitch, there's a couple of options with this. You've got the standard, you've got the safety bar, you've got a safety bar and a hammer strap, back to standard again. And the rear hitch, you've got a bit of an old school 2-point hitch here, 2-point with a top link, old quick hitch, new quick hitch, and back to the standard 2-point. You can also give this a front attacher. You can equip it with the Quickie brand, the John Deere H480, or back to none. And it also, obviously because it is precision farming ready, you can equip it with the Isaria Pro bits and bobs. Although it says you can, I think obviously you've got to have the mirrors fitted for that one. And the exhaust tip you can change to chrome, and that's pretty much it for that. So there's quite a bit of custom spec you can do with these two vehicles. But again, just one of my favourites. I love the shape of the thing. It's got a lovely. They do have some nice custom sounds to the engine. It's got a nice metallic sound to it if I turn it on there. It's got a really nice sound, and you can only obviously you can only use the interactive control option when the engine's turned on. I'll bring up the let me bring up my heads-up display so I can see where I'm going. But as you can see, oh, it's not working for me now. That's just typical, isn't it? Let's see if it can change if I jump in and out again. This was working perfect. There we go. So you can open the doors. You can fold out the flashes. That door's got a nice thud to it, hasn't it? And this one's a little bit awkward to get to, but if you jump up onto the side of it, just catch the step there, you can unfold the mirrors, and as you can see from the other side as well, it folds out the mirrors on your... this is the only side that you can get the interactive trigger on. You can fold them in and out, which is pretty cool. But yeah, a lovely combination of tractors there from Skywalker Farms, the John Deere 8000 and 8010 series. So next up in the lineup is the White Field Boss Series 3 from Julian F. Modding. Now this is an absolute beauty. I've used this quite a lot, and again, I suppose it doesn't have quite as many customization options as the previous John Deere there, but it is a good thing nonetheless. So we'll jump into the shop, have a quick peek at this one, scroll along. There we go. So base price $26,300. You can give it a 125 horsepower engine, a 150, a 170, or back to the standard 125. You've got the capacity for some Continental tractor tyres. You can give it some lizards, which automatically give the front wheels a bigger size. You can have the lizards again with the front small size, Vredesteins, Trelleborgs, BKTs, Continentals, and back to those lizards again. And you've got quite a lot of varieties in between. You've got the row crops with the weights, dual row crops, duals with the weights, ploughing setup, wide dual row crops, slim dual row crops, single row crops, back to the row crops and weights again, and kind of the same thing for each of the individual brands, and you've got the two different varieties with the lizards, of course. So yeah, lots of customization options there. Cab options, cab configurations. You can have nothing. You can have a GPS terminal, which you can see there appear on the roof, and it gives you that screen in the cab there. You can have a sprayer terminal, which gives you that nice old school kind of quite mechanical looking sprayer terminal. You can have the GPS and the sprayer terminal. You can have a beacon. You can have a GPS and a beacon. You can have the sprayer terminal and the beacon, or you can just have the lot. So, which is quite reasonably priced at $5,900 for all of that, I suppose. Exterior configurations, you can have it standard. You can have a straight pipe out there, out the engine. You can have the mirror variety number 1, which I quite like actually. It's quite a nice rudimentary, just a bit of box section metal there, just bolted to the roof with a mirror on. You can have the mirror with the pipe. You can have some truck mirrors with a pipe. Stolen case IH mirrors, clearly nicked off an IH 1455 perhaps. Now those mirrors with the pipe, and back to standard again. Exterior attachments, you've got the Quickie branded front loader console, or the Hauer, or you can have a front mounted weight at 330 pounds, 550 pounds, 770 and 990, maximum of 1210, and back to nothing again. So that's that. But a beautiful tractor, it really is. Again, I've used this quite a lot. I just love the look of it. Now, we do have, I believe it was confirmed a few days ago, we do have white coming to Farm Sim 25 as well, so that's very exciting. So it'd be great if we had something like this in Farm Sim 25. Looking forward to that. Next up, we have the Fendt 800-900 package from Bayern Agrar. Now, this is available on the Mod Hub. Again, it's a lovely thing. There's lots of customization with this one. As you can see, I've painted it. It's one of my favourite colours, and it's not a colour that you can paint a lot of the Fendt machines in, but it's this like petrol blue. Really quite like this one. It's got a lovely custom engine sound as well, and as I say, there's lots of customization you can do with this. I've done this in the petrol blue with some black wheels. It's a lovely thing. So again, jumping into the menus, we'll have a quick peek at this one. This comes in 2 variants. You've got the 800 turbo shift for 76 grand, which is a manual and power shift variant, or you can go for the variable transmission that has a slightly higher horsepower capacity at 285. Previous had 265. The one we have in front of us at the minute is the variable transmission. But there's a lot of customization you can do with this. You can have the 916 Vario engine at 165 horsepower, 920 at 205. 924 at 245, the 926 at 265, or you can have the Vario chip at 285 and back to the standard. few tyre options, of course. Now, one particular thing that I do really like about this particular tractor is what you can do with the BKT branded tyres. So you do have, obviously, you've got the Trelleborgs, you've got your Continentals, the BKTs, and the Vredesteins. But with the BKTs, it's a brand that I just like equipping a lot of my tractors with BKTs because they tend to look and appear slightly chunkier. But you've got the wide tyres, with weights, you've got a second option with wide tyres and weights, and a third. And then when you go to this next wide tyre options, you can see that tyre just jumps up in size. Just watch the whole thing, and you can predominantly, mainly seeing the gap in between the top of the wheel and the wheel arch. But boom, it just fills that arch, and I really quite like that. It's something that's one of the things that when I first saw the image of this vehicle, of this mod, when I saw it a long time ago, I was like, I'm having that. Love it. There is a third option as well. I think you can give it a few weight options with those really big, wide, chunky tyres. Now the design, you can change the chrome exhaust grid. You've got the design line, which changes the front grille there from a kind of the dark black to a kind of light grey colour. Or the standard. There we go. Beacon lights, you can give it a left one, you can give it a right one, you can have them both, or back to none at all. Mirrors, bit of customization. You've got the standard, you've got the wide angle mirror, you've got the electric wide angle mirror, back to standard. You can equip it with the European warning signs or not. Now, this is also a very handy thing. You can equip it with a front power takeoff, so that immediately increases the kind of work that you can do with this machine. Once you've got a front PTO mounted on there, you can obviously you can start equipping front mounted equipment like mowers and such, which is very helpful. You can equip it with it's obviously precision farming ready, so you can give it the Isaria Pro Compact kit on there, and obviously the colour options. I do love this. Obviously, you can give it the base Fendt green, the Fendt nature green, classic green, the dark green, which is pretty cool, and again, my favourite, the Fendt petrol. You can give it the Fendt red, which is like a dark red, the black, which is pretty cool. You can make it white, or you can go for this quite very rarely seen communal orange, and you can also kit out the colour of your wheels with a few options as well. You've got the standard Fendt red, in black, in white, in grey, and in beige, which is quite an odd one. I actually think the beige kind of looks quite good with the petrol as well sometimes. But yeah, really nice, and of course you can give it a number plate as well. So a lovely mod there from Fiat Agri, and it does have, as I say, I'm going to jump in it very quickly, forgive me. It does also have there's a few interactive control options that you can bring up as well. You can fold up the steering wheel, you can open the doors, you can open the front window there, and I think, is there a rear window option there? I thought there was, but maybe there's not with this one. There we go. Fold that back. Let's bring the door back. Shut that front window there. And there's also, you can lift up the sunroof as well, which is pretty cool. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you can do the rear window. Couldn't see that. It was above me. I was looking down. So yeah, a bit of interactive control with all this. Now, the engine sound is also very, very nice. You can kind of hear a distant turbo whistle as that starts up. But one of the options that this vehicle does have with it is it also allows you to, it has the reverse drive function. So if we bring up the option, change driving direction, press X there, give it a couple of seconds, steering wheel folds in, and you can rotate round. So this now becomes a reverse drive tractor, which I learnt early on in my Court Farm series. I was pointed out by a few people who knew a little bit more than I did, that I was running my big Elo mower in the wrong direction. I had it mounted on the front and it should have been on the back, driving backwards. So I was very happy with that bit of information. But yeah, really quite cool. Not something you see on very many tractors. So that's excellent. So there we go. That is the Fendt 800-900 package from Fiat Agri. Now, last but not least, we have the Fendt 900. The Fendt 700 Vario edition. Now, this is by Bone 2510, and he's part of the LSFM group of people who make some absolutely beautiful mods. This is the Fendt 700 Vario edition. Now, as you can see, probably from the outside, there's a fair bit of customization going on here, mainly from the colours, but again, that's what drew me to it initially. I was introduced to this by my good friend, the Farm Sim guy. He started using this on one of his series, and I saw it, and I saw the coloured accents on the wheel rims, and that's what drew me to it. I was like, ooh, where's that from? Thankfully found out, downloaded it from the LSFM site, and it really is a beauty. I've been using a couple of these on my Deutschland series. So, There's a couple of variants of this one as well. We'll jump into the shop very quickly. Medium tractors, right to the end. So you've got a variable transmission variant at 162 grand, and a slightly cheaper and slightly less powerful, I suppose it's just an automatic variant, which is the one we have in front of us, for 158 grand. Now there's a lot of customization you can do in here. You've obviously got this engine-wise, you've got a 716 at 165 horsepower, right the way up to a 724 Vario chip tune at 290, and you've got a couple of variants in between. Wheel branding, obviously Trelleborg, Michelin, Continental, Mitas, BKTs, the usual story, Vredesteins and Nokians. Back to Trelleborg. Wheel setup, standard. Now this is one of the interesting things that this vehicle has, is the default Vario grip. Now that essentially means you can deflate and inflate the tyres. You can customise the pressures that the tyres are at, and it actually works. It makes a difference, because I have had myself stuck on a very steep hill before, trying to mow a very steep hill of grass, and the vehicle was getting stuck, so I deflated the tyres and gave them a wider footprint on the ground, and sure enough it changed its dynamics and I was able to pull myself up the hill. You can give it some wheel weights. You can have wide tyres with the Vario grip, and the weights, twin wheels at the front, narrow tyres, and back to standard again. Design type. Now this, it took me a few minutes to figure out what exactly this was changing, but essentially the one thing it is changing is that there's an accent strip just above the front headlights there. At the minute, this is the Bayern Gamers edition, which is blue. As you can see there, the DNF edition, which I'll mention that in a second. You've got a yellow edition, blue edition, green edition, red edition, orange, black, even though black seems to be white there. And back to standard. Design. Now this is essentially that little silly stick you see in the bottom of the glass there in the door. There's that familiar image we've all seen, no doubt, for the last few years on the internet. You've got that one there. You can either have it with or without. This one does come with the option for a forest frame. You can have it as rods, metal rods. You can have it as ropes, or you can have it as chains, or not at all. Now foliation, this brings up an option for a completely custom skin on the vehicle, which looks pretty crazy. It's like a digital army camo colour, black and grey and a bit of white perhaps, so that's pretty cool. Obviously if you apply this texture to the vehicle, you can't change the rest of the colours, it sticks with that. But again, it's pretty cool, it's nice and different. You have an option for a side protector, which is that wooden thing that you see on the side. You can either have it with or without. You can equip it with a front loader attacher. You can equip it with the Isaria Pro Compact equipment, of course. Now this is pretty cool. So you have the second rim colour. This is where you can change the accent rim on the wheel. You can have it as standard in red. You've got the Bayern Gamers edition, yellow edition, blue, green, red, orange, white, and back to standard again. So that's a pretty cool little accent you can do. Crop. Now this is one thing that I've not really seen on, I don't think, any other tractor or mod, is you can change the colour of the crop sensors if you equip it with the Isaria Pro Compact. So you can have black, you can have blue, you can have yellow, blue again, green, red, orange, back to standard. So that's pretty cool. So when you do your colour customisations on this particular tractor, and you've got the Isaria stuff equipped, you can have it customised to suit the accents that you've given to the rest of the vehicle. So it's really quite cool. So for example, let's go make the one similar to what I've got on the forecourt here. So we go for the Fendt Black Beauty main paint. I'm going to do my best here. Zapfuelenab deck. That essentially means the front PTO cowling, as you can see there. That's like a gold colour, but you can change that. We'll go for the Fendt red. There you go. Changes the cover for the PTO there. The Luftauslasse. Again, this is the accents that are around the vents on the hood there. So at the minute it's a chrome colour, just so that we can see them easier. We'll change them to the Fendt red there. But yeah, now we've got those nice accents on the engine cover. You can change the rim colour separate to the outer rim as well, so we can change those for the purposes of this, so we can see it. We'll change those to jet black, and of course you can equip it with a license plate. But if we get, there you go, you can see the standout there. We'll go for the red edition just to make that look pretty cool. So there we go, and of course you can equip it with a license plate, of course, as well. And that's essentially that for those two. This obviously does come with a few extra interactive control things, so you can see these icons that appear. You can click on that with your mouse, and you can remove each individual wheel arch if you so wished, which is again pretty cool. You can fold in the mirrors individually this time, as you can see, there's one up there, so you can fold down the, it's got quite a long reach on it, that one. You can fold down the beacon light there. You can open the doors, which is great. So yeah, I do love those customizations with the interactive control. Although I can't do it from here. Come on, let's bring up the... there we go, that's better. So, let's close the door, turn the engine on. Again, it's got a lovely engine, a bit of a custom engine sound with this one. But what you can do is you can see in the top left-hand corner, you've got the tyre pressure and the target pressure that you want to set it to, and the current pressure that the tyres are currently set at. Now, to alter these, you use, quite simply, you use Control and Page Up and Page Down and Control P to change. So, if I... For example, we're at the highest pressure that the tyres can currently go at 180. So if I press Control and just hold down Page Down, as you can see, the tyre pressure just goes down, and you can stop it anywhere you want. And for the purposes of the demonstration, I'm going to go right down to the bottom. So we've hit 0.8 bar, and now I hit Control P. There we go. And as you can hear, and eventually see, the tyres are deflating. Now, this isn't just something for show, it does make a difference. The whole vehicle itself, as you can see, is very slowly lowering down, and you can see the footprint of the tyres starting to spread out on the ground. And like I said before, this has actually pulled me out some trouble before when I got stuck on a particularly steep grassy hill, running a couple of mowers with this, and it pulled itself up the hill perfectly fine. So it was really quite cool. And again, obviously, Control and Page Up if you want to set it back, or to anything in between, right the way to the top, and then Control P, and it will re-inflate itself. And that's amazing. I absolutely love that. Let's turn the engine off, so it'll still keep going when the engine's off. But how cool is that? That's not something I've seen on many mods in the past before. And for me, that was a selling point for that one. That's one of the, aside from the design customizing that you can do with this one, I love the fact that you can inflate and deflate the tyres. So that concludes the medium tractor category for my a few of my favourite tractors. Now, of course, there are a lot of others that I do use and I do consider my favourites, but I've kind of cherry picked the ones that I tend to use the most. So now let's jump right in to the large ones. And here we are, finishing off with the big uns. So starting from left to right, we have the Case IH Steiger large frame series from Caesarius Modding. We have the wheeled and the Quadtrack variant, of course. A couple of customization options with these, as you can see, the colours specifically. And of course, triples. Who doesn't want triples? But yeah, a wonderful set of mods. I just love the old school variant of the Case Steiger series here. It's just a lovely boxy old school looking thing. Really I've enjoyed using these in the past, so we'll have a look at these in a little bit more detail. Essentially, both of these are kind of the same, obviously, aside from the Quadtrack and the wheeled. The options that you can specify for each individual one are basically the same. Next up, I'm sure this needs no introduction, this is the Case 715 Steiger, of course, from Carl Farms and Custom Modding. A pair of beautiful vehicles. Not been out too long for the game. I know we've got these as base game in Farm Sim 25, haven't we? We've been able to enjoy these two things for a few months now in 22. Again, much the similar story as the previous Steiger. You've got the wheeled and the Quadtrack variant, a few different options in each, but essentially the options are the same across the two examples. Next up, from Northwest Mods and Edits, we have the 9RT series and the 1100 Vario MT series. Pair of beautiful tractors. I tend to, if I feel like I'm wanting to run a tracked vehicle like this, especially running, for example, like using them as unloaders with grain carts and such on a big American farm, I'll tend to go for one or the other with these, specifically mainly because you can, again, the spec that you can customize them with are both roughly the same, but you can actually give them a slightly wider track. And that was the one thing that makes me gravitate towards these two, as opposed instead of just going for the base game ones. Aside from the fact that they're just two wonderful mods with tons and tons of power. That's essentially it. So we'll have a look at those again in a little bit more detail in the shop. Next up, we have the versatile and New Holland 4-wheel drive tractor pack from BC Bueller. So as you can see, again, much the same as the previous ones. These are essentially the same tractor, except you've got one in New Holland colours with a couple of different engine varieties, and one in versatile colours, again with the same engine varieties. You can spec these pair of vehicles, either one from 310 all the way up to 500 horsepower. Again, with a few different wheel options. Triples, who doesn't want triples? And you can have some big beefy doubles as well, and a few options in between. And last but not least, we have the AGCO Vario 1000 US series from Custom Modding. Now I'm sure you can tell why I tend to go for these ones as well. It's because of the floaters. I just love a tractor with some big chunky tyres, and these are the king of big chunky tyres on a tractor like this. Essentially, this comes in 3 variants as well. You can have the Fendt 1000. They're essentially based on the same tractor. It's the Fendt 1000 series. You can have it as a Fendt in the Fendt colours. You can have it in this one in the Challenger colours, or you can have it in the Fendt Black Beauty colours. They're all the same. 396 to 517 horsepower, and all the different varieties of customization are all exactly the same. You essentially just start off with a different model, the yellow, the green, or the black. So that's my lineup of a few of my favourite large tractors. We'll jump very quickly into the shop to have a look at each of the individual ones. So straight into large tractors, as you can see here, starting off back at the beginning there with the Caesarius Moddings, is Steiger large frame series. So you've got the Steiger and the Quadtrack. Again, like I said, the options are the same. You've got the 9370 power shift at 360 horsepower, right the way up to the synchro shift modified 9380 at 600 horsepower, and a few options in between. Obviously the standard, obviously this is the quaddie, so you've got this. I think pretty much the difference is the pattern in the tracks here, but you've got the standard, and you've got the standard 2, and back to the standard again. I'm trying to figure out if they are even slightly wider. They might be an inch or so wider perhaps, but either way I think it's just down to the pattern of the tracks. You can give it a beacon light, yes or no. You can give it front weight, 990 kilograms, or not. You can give it a monitor. You've got the Kinsey Blue Vantage there. You've got the Kinsey KPM2. You've got the precision planting monitor there that appears on the A-pillar. Blue Vantage and the KPM2, a couple of variants essentially, Blue Vantage and precision planting. Another variant there. You can have them all, or you can have none of them. You can give it a quick hitch, yes or no. You can show the model decal on the engine cover, 9380 there. You can see it just disappears. You can give it it's obviously precision farming ready, so you can equip it with Isaria Pro Compact or not. And you've got the option to change from red paint to black paint, or to a quite leery green paint, which actually looks quite cool to be honest. The exhaust conduit colour, as you can see, you've got the exhaust pipe coming out of the turbo there, going straight to the exhaust. You can change that from black to chrome. I've always been quite partial to the chrome, to be honest. It looks really quite cool, and obviously you can equip it with a license plate. So that's kind of that for the quads. For both of those, they're both the same. Jumping over to the 715 from Carl Farms and Custom Modding. These are beauties, these are, they really are. Now there's no engine option to change in here. They are 778 horsepower. I mean, you don't really need much more power than that, do you? That's enough power and torque to rotate the planet, and from either variant, from the wheeled or the Quadtrack. You've got a few options in here, obviously, for this is the wheeled variant, of course. You can give it a few different brands: Trelleborg, Michelin's, Continentals, Mitas, BKTs, Vredesteins, and you've got the Lizards. You can give it some floaters as well. And you can give it some twin LSW 1100s. That's you've got the 1250s, twin 1250s, which is, it just looks amazing, that, doesn't it, with or without weights. You've got the 1400s and twin 1400s. That's mega, that is, it really is. And then you've got some triples with weights, slightly bigger radius triples, and again a few varieties in there, really quite cool. You've got the front options, of course, standard £1,000 weight, £2,200 weight, rock box and weights, back to standard. Now of course you can tint the windows on these ones. You've got the default, you've got a light tint, you've got a dark tint, and you've got a proper like piano black tint there as well. I must admit, personally, I tend to go for the default. I'm not too keen on black windows, to be honest. I don't need a gangster look on my tractor, but that's the joy of the mods, isn't it? You've got the option there if you do like it. I must admit though, I suppose if you give it the black tint and the black paint, we'll have a look at that in a minute, that would look pretty cool, wouldn't it? Batman Steiger. You can give it a US spec, you can give it an EU spec with the warning signs front and back. You can give it the oversized signs, especially that will suit being out with AGCO over in Australia and New Zealand. That'll look pretty cool. US spec again there. So in-cab monitors, there's a couple of varieties. I've not done myself a favour here because I've gone to the black window so we won't see them. So we've got the field viewer, zoom in a bit closer there. We've got the precision planting, we've got precision planting and field viewer, real dashboard, and field view at real dashboard, or back to none again. Now this one is, if you've got the floor covering option, you've got the rubber mats there, standard. You can give it a cardboard, which is pretty cool. It's a nice little attention to detail. Or you can give it a nice trimmed, proper fitted carpet there as well. Now you can change the exhaust to have the default pipe on the top, or to a rain cap, and attaches. It's got the normal rear hitch. You can give it a rear weight bracket. You can give it a £3,100 rear weight, £4,500, or the quick hitch, and back to the standard rear hitch. And you can give it fleet numbers, of course, all the way up to 9 or 8. Sorry with that one, forgive me. They appear as a decal there on the rear quarters. And of course, precision farming ready, of course, so you can give it the Vario Pro Compact, and you can change the colour. But yeah, if we go to the black, and then we'll give it the black windows, just because dark tint, black tint, I suppose that looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Let's do that, shall we? And the design colour, that's the seats inside. You might slightly see that through the black windows, but you can change the colour of the seats. Again, we'll go for Batman's tractor, but you can give it a few varieties of grey, and the black wheels, of course, as well. And if you went for the green, you can customise it with the green as well. But there you go. So the Steiger 715 from Carl Farms and Custom Modding. Now over to Northwest Mods and Edits 9RT series and 1100 MT series. Again, most of the customization options across these two tractors are relatively similar. Jumping into the shop, we'll have a look at one of them. So this one you can spec from 517 to 628 horsepower. This one from 511 to 673, so a bit more grunt behind the Fendt here. But again, you can check, there's a couple of engine options obviously to get that power. You've got the standard track setup, you've got the wide, you've got the thin, you've got default with spaces, and wide with spaces. Thin with spaces, and back to standard again. I've always liked the wide with the spaces, to be honest. You've got the EU spec with the warning signs, you've got the US spec without. That's pretty much it for there. You've got number options, you can have the number displayed on both sides of the engine cover there at the front, or just the left or just the right, and you can number this from 1 to 9. You can equip it with or without a quick hitch, and you can give it a license plate. But again, just my own personal preference, when I've needed I wanted a tracked tractor like this with a good bit of grunt behind it, I have always gone for one of these two. Beautiful mods from Northwest Mods and Edits. They do have some other wonderful mods on their page. Obviously the link will be in the video description below, so please go, feel free to check out their mods. They do some wonderful work, they really do. Next up, we have the versatile and New Holland 4-wheel drive tractor pack from BC Bueller. Now these have been around quite a while. I did use this particular example very early in the beginning of my YouTube career over on my Edgewater Saskatchewan series. I had this for quite a while. Wonderful tractor. Again, 310 to 500 horsepower you can spec. Let's jump into the shop. We'll have a look at the New Holland here. But yeah, you've got the 9482 at 310 horsepower, right up to the 9884 tuned at 500. You've got the usual Trelleborgs, Michelins, Continentals, Mitas, BKTs, Vredesteins, and back to Trelleborgs again. But obviously you can go for the beefy ones and get the BKT with the big beefy wheels and a few variants in between. Twin wheels, wide tyres, twin wheels. Again, it's the same score, you know the score, don't you? You've got a couple of narrow twin wheels there. Some singles, and a few different varieties in between. You can equip it with or without a radio. Again, just a bit nice visual touch. You can see that in the top right hand side of the cab, just a CB radio. You can equip it with no weights or a few variants up to 1230 kilograms. You can give the rear end, you can give it some mid weights, you can give it both weights, you can give it just the rear weights, you can give it the PTO shaft at the back there, plus the mid weights, or a 3-point, back to standard. Precision farming ready, of course, again, so Vario Pro Compact, yes or no, and of course a number plate. But again, just a beautiful set of tractors, they really are. And again, they're just a bit old school again, which is one of the reasons why I like it so much, or like them so much, because of they're not just the latest and greatest big tractor. It's a few years old and they just look brilliant and they work brilliant. And yeah, spent quite a few hours in there, especially the New Holland one. And here we are, last but not least, we have the AGCO Vario 1000 US pack from Custom Modding. So, jumping again into the shop to show you the three. There we are. So you've got the Fendt. As I said before, it's based on the Fendt 1000 series, but you can have it in Fendt colours, Challenger colours, or the US Black Beauty colours in Fendt. So we'll go to the Challenger, of course, just because it stands out with it being bright yellow. Engine specs, 1038, 396 horsepower, right up to the 1050 at 517. You've got Michelins, you've got Lizards, and you've got Michelins. You've just got two options here. You've got the option for a few wheel weights, wide tyres and weights, twin wheels, triples at the back there, narrows, rear narrows, all 8 narrows, sorry, twin wheels, back triples, widely spaced, 22-inch spacing, 36-inch spacing, and back to standard. And Lizards again, you've got some narrows, you've got the narrow twins, you've got the twins, back triples, 22-inch spacing again, 36-inch spacing, and there you up to the big boys, the 1400 LSWs with weights, and then the 1250 LSWs with and without weights. So yeah, lovely model. You've got beacons, left, right, or both. You've got fenders at the front if you like, or not, and you can equip these ones with some numbers right the way up to 25 actually, goodness me. So if you did have a massive fleet of vehicles on your farm, at least if a lot of them were of these mods, you can label them right the way up to 25. You can give it a steering handle. If you have a look at the steering wheel there, it puts that steering handle onto the steering wheel there. You can give the cab a cooler, again in the bottom right hand corner there, it just puts a fridge into the cab, which is pretty cool. Keep some cold drinks in while you're out in the field. And of course, you can tint the windows from a 25%, a 50%, 75%, or back to standard again. You can equip it with a quick hitch, yes or no. Precision farming ready, of course, much like the others, Arsario Pro Compact, or a license plate. And that's essentially it, but like I said before, it's one of my favourites purely because of the big, the LSW floaters that you can equip those 3 tractors with. Really do love them, really do. So, that's a rundown of the large tractors. Now finishing off as my favourite vehicles in Farming Simulator 22. Now I've tried my best. I know this video may well end up creeping over an hour long, quite by a few minutes, so I do apologise for that. I hope you have stuck with me. I do hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope I've managed to introduce you to at least 1 or 2 tractors that you haven't seen before. And as I said, all the links for all of the vehicles featured in today's video will be in the video description below. There are some of them you can get from the Mod Hub, but some of them you can't, and obviously the links will be for the best available websites to get those from. But it now stands for me to say thank you very much for watching the video, ladies and gentlemen. I do hope you've enjoyed it and found it a little bit of fun, introducing you to it, and hopefully, like I said, at least 1 or 2 vehicles that you've not seen before. As always, if you're new to my channel and you like my content, you like the way I'm doing things, please consider hitting that subscribe button and jumping on board, joining the channel. Please give the video a like if you can. If you have, it does do wonders, helps the YouTube algorithm do its thing. And as always, there are a host of links in the video description below with my Giants Partner promo code. If any of you are in the market for purchasing a DLC, an add-on, a season pass, or even the full game itself, and you like the idea of helping a content creator out and supporting their channel, as always, I would be hugely appreciative. So thanks again everyone, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.